Alright, everybody. Cameron Scott here with a video about Scream 4. One of my favorite film series is the Scream franchise. I could talk for hours about it, but I don't think that's what you want. If you are interested in my review of the Scream franchise, please check out the Slasher Club in that channel, which is hosted by a friend of mine, Slasher Dude 2000. We review horror films. I co-host, and we are currently going through the Scream franchise. Tomorrow we will be reviewing Scream 4, so if you want to hear my movie analysis, check it out there. Alright, so this film is how Scream 4 predicted SJW mentality and fake news. So it is no secret that our culture right now is in turmoil. It's no secret that there's a lot of division, and I don't think that social justice warrior mentality is the sole reason for the division. I know that's going to upset some folks, but there's a lot of things within our culture that are not right. But an easy target, obviously, is social justice, activism, the mentality of always being offended, always being a victim, always trying to limit others but not limit yourself. We see, and today everyone is trying to forgive James Gunn for his comments, while they didn't care prior for those who had made similar comments but had lost their job or lost their influence. So we see a sense of tribalism where, what happens to others does not affect us, but what happens to those that we care about, those that we like, that is when it matters. That's when we need to, change something. That's when we need to make a stand. And so we've really become, our culture has almost become sociopathic, where we really care more about ourselves, more about our material things, more about what makes us happy, and less about the things that can make everybody happy, And I'm not saying that, hey, don't focus on your family, don't, focus on yourself. That's not true. You should focus on yourself. You and your family should be your number one priority, but not your only priority, If you're blessed, your goal should be to helping to bless the lives of other people, Anyways, I'm getting too big picture, and that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is that this film from 2011, that is directed by Wes Craven, written by Kevin Williamson, has excellent social commentary. All of the films have great commentary. I really recommend them. Even if you're not a horror fan and you just want something kind of smart and reflective of current events. Yes, I know the first three films take place in the 90s, but there's some things in those films that really have some answers to what is going on in our society today. The third film, as a quick aside, is all about how Hollywood used to prey on people trying to get into the industry. It's crazy, because, what's funny? In the era of Weinstein and the Me Too movement, guess what? Harvey Weinstein produced these films. It's hilarious, in a way. The irony of it. Anyways, Scream 4, spoiler alert here, is all about Sidney Prescott, her return home to Woodsboro as an accomplished author and inspirational figure in public, and her cousin, Jill Roberts, is absolutely jealous of the fame. And instead of trying to work and to build up a life of her own, she thinks that a murder spree that paints herself as a final girl, or as a survivor, or as she plays, as she puts it, as a victim. She believes that will. Sorry, it's getting shaky cam here. Jill believes that if she can paint a picture to the world that she is a victim, that she can have fame. She says in the third act, after it's revealed that she's one of the killers, she says, you don't have to achieve anything. You just need to have messed up stuff happen to you. Does that not sound familiar? In the context of the things that are going around in our culture and our society today, we have folks who are constantly in grievance mode, constantly upset about something. And I'm not saying that there aren't things to be upset about. There surely are, but 24/7, I don't think so. There are folks who decry racism and bigotry who have never experienced those things. You have people like Sean King, who believes that he's this great, warrior for civil rights, and what has he achieved? What has he accomplished to actually restore civil rights? There are several other figures in other areas of activism that believe that they are these inspirational figures, but they have not undergone anything that has given them experience, like tragedy or circumstances or anything. It's all observational. It's all living by proxy. I've seen the things that other people have gone through, and I will adopt those tragedies as my own. Jill's character as the killer is to become the new Sidney Prescott without having lived anything that Sidney Prescott had gone through. What makes Sidney such a remarkable figure is the amount of things that she has endured, plus the things that she strives to achieve. She worked for her life. She had talents. It is mentioned throughout the film series that she wanted to be an actress, and she strived to try that. She did theater. She tried to go into that industry, and it didn't work. But that didn't stop her. She became a peer counselor to help others. And when that didn't work, when she felt like her reach was not vast enough, she wrote a book, and she inspired others and gave comfort to a wide audience. Sidney Prescott's character, whether you appreciate horror or not, she's a remarkable fictional character. She follows the hero's journey that we read about and we see we read about, and what we see in film, that traditional arc of a fairly generic character going through the hero's journey. And Jill's character is very representative of a lot of youth, it's not really just a generational thing. It's not just young people. There are people older than myself, I'm in my 30s, that have this mentality that, I've adopted a grievance, even though this grievance hasn't really happened to me, I have adopted it. It has become my passion. It has become my mission. And I am a victim. I'm a victim, and I will profit off of this. People make their livelihoods today off of being a victim. And it's really unfortunate, In the film, in Scream 4, about halfway through, Sidney's publicist, is gloating at the fact that there are more murders. She's like, oh, this is going to be great for business. Like, Sidney, you profit off of being a victim. And Sidney, of course, because she's a good person, she's like, no. I'm not a victim. There's a difference between being a victim and being a survivor. Jill wanted to be a victim. She wanted the fame. Sidney is a survivor. She survived, she endured, and she's moving past those things. Those horrible tragedies don't define her. A victim wants the tragedies to define them, to give them some sort of credit, some sort of moral authority. That's something that SJWs crave, is authority. They may not try to take the highest reaches of office like the presidency or thin government, but as Diversity in Comics says, they're always trying to influence. What they want to do is to influence. And our culture has definitely been influenced by social justice mentality. And this isn't a left or right social justice mentality. I'm telling you, people on the left and the right constantly want to say, well, I'm the victim. And, we're not moving forward as a society because we are constantly pointing the fingers at each other. We are not being survivors. We are constantly looking at the tragedies that happen within our country, within the world, and we are saying, well, this happened in our lifetimes, and so I am suffering. We adopt the suffering of others, not to try to help those that are actually suffering. That's what, isn't that not what empathy really is? Is you try to understand what those that are actually suffering are going through so you can try to help them. That's not what we do. Instead it is, oh, I'm adopting the suffering of others. How can this benefit me? What can I become now that I am a victim? So there's that. And I'm not articulating this all very well, but if you are a brilliant person, please watch Scream 4. You'll see what I'm talking about, and if you want to make a video about it, go ahead. I'm just pointing y'all's direction to Scream 4. It is a brilliant film. It unfortunately did not do very well. It did not elicit it did not produce another sequel, which again, I'm a big fan of these films. Absolutely predicted the direction our culture was going, which is all about fame instead of achievement. And there's a line by Jill where she says, I don't want friends, I want fans. I mean, how definitive of our culture is that? I mean, so much of us are engrossed by YouTube personalities. This video is going to be posted on YouTube, and I'm hoping people will watch it. And so I gotta kind of criticize myself a bit too here, because it's like I'm kind of making fun of the fact that we've all become so addicted to what other people have to say. Like, we're not worried about our neighbors. We're not worried about the people that we live with. We're worried about the people online. We're worried about our fans, not our friends. We will have people that we are associated with online that we don't even know because we want fans. So there's a Jill Roberts in all of us. Doesn't mean we're killers. Doesn't mean we're sociopaths. It just means to some degree we have all become a little too attached to social media culture. That said, the next point is Scream 4, how it predicted fake news. So in the film, towards the very end, the news starts going with the story that Jill is the hero. They're talking about how she's the next American hero. Before, the dead bodies have cooled, before all the facts have been, obtained, the news is saying Jill is the hero. Obviously, as we know, for those that have watched the film, she's not. She's the villain. And there are a multitude of stories that we could look at and say, oh, that's kind of like, story X, story Y. There are several stories where the media has tried to paint certain people, certain groups as good or bad, and been burned by it, and not admitted, hey, you know what, we made a mistake by jumping too soon. I think about the Obama era, when there would be mass shootings, and the media would immediately jump and say, "Oh, it was a Tea Partier," and then guess what? It wasn't. It wasn't a politically motivated shooting. Or there was Aurora, or Tucson, or wherever. The media would say, "Oh, it was a Tea Partier," and then guess what? It wasn't. These aren't all political, obviously, but there are instances that we can think of where the news media has reported a story without getting all the facts, where their bias their tribalism has come into play. So this video is going on 16 minutes now. This is a lot longer than I wanted to go into, but I hope I made some clear points to kind of conclude, to kind of summarize. Scream 4 predicted social justice warrior mentality by highlighting the fact that folks crave fame over hard work. People want fans, not friends. That people have become too attached to social media instead of the real world. And Scream 4 also predicted the rise of fake news by showing that if you just put the camera in a certain direction, if you just throw a few details out there, the news will run with it as the story. And it's unfortunate because it doesn't tell the full story. So this is me, Cameron Scott, talking about Scream 4. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Do you like Scream 4? Do you like horror films? Are there other horror films or other movies in general that you've watched and you said, you know what, I really feel like this is representative of our culture, of current events, or maybe where we're headed? Let me know. Take care.